Next is another news story. We're kind of alternating things that you need to pay attention to and not worry about. But there was a story in the news about a major change that's coming to the public service loan forgiveness program. And it was talking about, all of these things that the Trump administration wants to do to make it more difficult to qualify for that program. And it primarily impacted two different camps of people. The first camp are physicians, and the current administration does not like the fact that physicians are eligible for public service loan forgiveness. This is something that they've stated publicly. So, what they're trying to do is make it more difficult for a physician to qualify based on the rules of the program. They also, on top of that, don't like, as they have shared very publicly. So, this is not like a political stance. This is something that they've just announced, that there are nonprofits that offer things like help to immigrants that they do not like. And they do not want someone who is not politically aligned with what they're trying to do working for a nonprofit and able to get public service loan forgiveness. So they are trying to make those nonprofits ineligible for public service loan forgiveness. But the negotiated rulemaking process is something that is a long process, and a whole lot of what goes into the negotiated rulemaking process does not come out of it. So while this is something that technically could possibly occur, this is not something that I would put high on my list of stressors, because I think the likelihood that these things get pushed through is slim to none. Next up, something that you should pay attention to and is good news. The department also announced recently that as of May 10th, they are planning to resume the processing of income-driven repayment plan applications. Now, there are millions of applications that are in the queue, but May 10th is the date the Department of Education is listing as when they will kick that process back up in terms of giving loan servicers the ability to push those applications through. Now, there are several things that come along with this of which you need to be aware. Some of those applications that are in the queue were submitted using the old application that still had the option for the save plan on there. And you need to reach out to your loan servicer to ask them if that application will be honored or whether you need to submit a new application. So that's very important. Another thing that's important is the Department of Education has said that they are soon to release another streamlined application for income-driven repayment. Now, streamlined has not, been like fleshed out in terms of what that means. Are they only going to have the income-based repayment plan on there and then have to be taken back to court to have the other plans added? Don't know necessarily, but I know that just like if you submitted the old application, you need to have some type of confirmation from your servicer that it will be honored or confirmation that you need to resubmit. The same would be true once they come out with the even newer application. If you have one in the queue that hasn't been processed, as annoying as it is to have to wait, you need to take some time out of your day when you just are in the office knocking out grunt work, or have some time in the evening to see if you can get someone to confirm that your application will go through. And then lastly, it's not a long episode today. This is just an update episode. And I can't alternate between like, oh, pay attention to this, don't pay attention with this. I ran out of the stuff to not pay attention to. So pay attention to this one as well. There were a lot of articles recently that had people up in arms if they were married with student loans. And the reason for that is in a recent court filing, the Department of Education was talking about how they're going to calculate the payment plans for people under income-driven repayment plans. And what they said was that a person could file their taxes separately from their spouse, but it would not allow them to exclude their spouse's income from their student loan payment calculation. So we've talked a lot on this podcast about all the different ways that you can lower your student loan payment. And a huge way that you see with people who are married with student loans, but their partner or spouse doesn't have student loans, is they would file their taxes separately so that spouse without student loans would not see their income included in the calculation. Now, we have also shared that that's something that you should only do under the advisement of a tax professional, because filing married, filing separately typically leads to more taxes, in some cases, significantly more taxes, both because of a more unforgiving tax code and for deductions and credits that you aren't eligible for if you've chosen to file married filing separately as compared to married filing jointly. So to hear from the Department of Education that even if you file separately, they're still going to include your spouse's income, that terrified a lot of people out there who are married and in relationships where the partner without student loans makes a significant income. And there are people who had already made the decision to file separately who are saying, well, I already paid more in taxes. And now you're telling me that I'm paying more in taxes and I don't even get the benefit of the student loan savings. Now, this is something that from the second that it came out in that court ruling, there wasn't really anybody in the student loan space who was that worried about it as a professional, because the way that student loan payments are calculated, where that spouse's income can be removed, is written into congressional statute. As we've talked about, there's a big difference between what the Department of Education says can happen and what Congress says can happen in terms of overturning that. So because it's written into congressional statute, it's really just one of those things where as soon as it came out, it's like either they are mistaken or they are trying to overturn statute. And as soon as someone calls them out on it, the court is going to brush them back. Well, it didn't even take that long. It was a mistake. The Department of Education came out and said, hey, we are going to allow you to file married filing separately and exclude your partner's income. What we meant to say was that we are going back to the old rules of how the payment was calculated prior to the changes that were instituted by the Biden administration. So